Someone has probably already said it to your face. The kids don't want the china. Maybe it was your own daughter, gently, over coffee. Maybe it was the man at the consignment shop, waving at a wall of cabinets just like yours. And here is the part that stings. They are almost right. Whole sets of old china really do go begging today, sold for pennies. But almost right is not right. Because while the sets go begging, dealers are quietly paying hundreds, sometimes thousands, for particular pieces pulled from those very same cabinets. Tonight, the 10 they hunt, and how to know if one is sitting behind your glass door right now. First, the honest truth. Dealer to friend. The China market did not die. It got picky. What died is the idea that a full set of anything is automatically precious. What lives is the exception, the short-lived mark, the pattern with a quiet cult of collectors behind it. So the rule for tonight is simple. Never judge a cabinet by the set. Judge it piece by piece, bottom by bottom. If you have ever stood before an inherited cabinet, wondering what is really in there, hit subscribe, because that question is exactly what this channel is for. Now, from the pattern everyone owns to the one that outprices the car in the driveway, let's count them down. Number 10. Blue willow, the pattern everyone owns and everyone waves off. The blue and white scene with the bridge and the two birds has been printed for well over 2 centuries, in unthinkable millions, and that is exactly why the shops groan when another box of it arrives. Most of it is worth a few dollars a plate, and I will not pretend otherwise. But a pattern made that long hides its old souls among the ordinary. Your test tonight? Turn a plate over. If the mark names no country at all, that quietly suggests it was made before the law that forced country names onto imports, well over 1.25 centuries ago. Then look at the picture itself. On early pieces, the design was applied by hand from printed tissue, so hunt for a fine seam where the pattern overlaps or misses a hair. The loss. A genuine Victorian platter gets stacked with the reproductions, marked $5, while collectors pay hundreds for exactly that seam. Number 9. 3 little words that turn cheap into history. After the Second World War, from about 1947 to 1952, goods leaving Japan had to be marked "Made in Occupied Japan." The kids look at those cups and figurines and see cheap souvenirs. Collectors see a window of barely 5 years that will never open again. Your test tonight, read the mark exactly, because the single word occupied is the entire game. Japan alone is common. Occupied Japan is a moment in history. The loss, a soldier carried a cup home to his mother. It sat on her shelf for 50 years. And then a box marked cheap Japanese stuff went to the donation van, when complete tea sets and the better figurines have sold well into the hundreds. Number 8. The soap dishes. And I mean that as a compliment. Noritake azalea, soft pink blossoms, hand-painted, with a small red mark underneath. Your grandmother likely did not buy this set. She earned it, piece by piece, through a mail order club that rewarded loyal soap customers with fine china. That is why so many cabinets hold it, and why the kids call it common. Your test tonight: find the pink azaleas and the red Noritake stamp, then hunt the strange pieces, because the ordinary plates are modest, but the child-size sets and the odd serving pieces have sold for hundreds and more. The loss, a set a woman spent 10 years earning, gets priced by the plate, when the one funny-shaped jug in the middle was worth more than the rest of the table combined. Number 7. The orange leaves that came to the front door. Hall autumn leaf, the gold and rust leaf pattern that arrived in America not from a store, but from the jewel tea man, who sold coffee door to door and handed these dishes out as rewards. Millions of homes had it, so the kids shrug at it. But the club made rare accessory pieces too, and those are the ones collectors fight over. Your test tonight: check for the hallmark underneath. Then look past the plates for the oddities, the covered butter dishes, the unusual teapot shapes, because those have sold in the hundreds and beyond. The loss: those old orange dishes get bundled into a box lot at auction, and the one rare piece in the box pays for everything else 100 times over. Number 6. The pink roses your children call dated. Franciscan desert rose. The raised pink blossoms on cream. One of the most beloved American patterns ever made. Yes, it is everywhere. But it was not always made in the same place, and almost nobody checks. Your test tonight: read the backstamp geography, because the early pieces say California, USA, and the later ones say England, or Portugal, or elsewhere, made after the American pottery closed. Early California serving pieces and big early sets climb into the hundreds. The loss: an original California set, gets donated as the same old roses, priced identically to a recent import, when the word under the glaze was the whole difference. Number 5. The blurry blue everyone thinks is ruined. Flow blue, the Victorian china whose deep midnight pattern looks softly out of focus, as if the ink ran. People see it and think water damage. It was the point. The cobalt was allowed to flow in the kiln on purpose, and Victorian buyers adored that smoky halo. Your test tonight: look at where the blur lives. On real flow blue, the softness sits down in the glaze, even and deliberate, and the blue is deep as midnight, not a washed-out print on the surface. The loss, and this one hurts: a covered tureen gets marked down as damaged because it looks blurry, when platters and tureens in this ruined style have sold from the hundreds into the low thousands. Number 4. The wedding china nobody can even give away. Haviland limoge, the delicate French porcelain that filled 1 million American hope chests. I will say it plainly, whole sets of it struggle today. But the exceptions hide under a test almost nobody knows. Your test tonight: flip a plate and look for 2 marks, not 1. A faint mark under the glaze from the French factory that made the white porcelain, and a second printed mark from the studio that painted it. Both together mean the real, fully French article. The loss: a listing says old china set, best offer, because nobody ever turned a plate over, while rare patterns and serving pieces from those double-marked sets sell into the hundreds on their own. Number 3. The gold ones too fancy to use. Pickard, the American studio that took white porcelain and covered it in etched, burnished gold, or in flowers painted by real artists. And here is the secret: those artists signed their work. Your test tonight: hold the piece to the light and hunt near the painted design for a tiny brushed signature, a surname hiding in the roses, then confirm the studio mark underneath. An artist-signed piece is a small signed painting you can hold, and signed and all-over gold pieces have sold from the hundreds into the thousands. The loss: the too fancy cabinet, the one the family is faintly embarrassed by, gets sold in one lump to the first hauler, signatures and all. Number 2. The box that only comes down once a year. Spode Christmas tree, the green tree with the presents underneath, made since the 1930s and buried in attics 11 months out of 12. Because it is holiday china, the kids treat it as decoration, and every January the donation vans fill with it. Your test tonight: read the backstamp before the ornaments go back upstairs. The earliest pieces name England, and the early, briefly made shapes, the servers nobody remembers buying, have sold into the hundreds. The loss: the January purge, when the rare early server rides to the thrift shop in the same box as the modern mugs, $5, tape on the lid. And number 1. The china your family calls too much. Royal Crown Derby Old Imari, the deep navy, the blood red, the burnished gold. It is the most dramatic china England ever made. The kids call it gaudy, and it is the single most reliable fortune in this countdown. Dealers do not call it gaudy. They call it imari, and they hunt it. Your test tonight, 2 steps. Find the crown mark underneath, then look just beneath it for a tiny extra symbol, a little date code that collectors read like a clock. And if the rim carries a band of solid, heavy gold, the famous pattern collectors know by the number 1128, you are holding the crown jewel of the style. Single cups and saucers have sold in the hundreds, larger and gold-banded pieces past 1,000. The loss? The loudest cabinet in the family, the one nobody fights over, quietly worth more than the sensible furniture around it. So here are the 3 rules that keep a fortune in the family. 1. Judge piece by piece. Never by the set, because tonight every treasure was one exceptional piece hiding inside an ordinary crowd. 2. Flip everything before you decide anything. The country, the second mark, the signature, the date code, every fortune tonight lived on the bottom of the piece. And 3. Never sell a cabinet in one lump, because the box lot is where fortunes leak, one unread backstamp at a time. So the bottom line is this. The next time someone tells you nobody wants your china, you can smile, because now you know the honest answer. Nobody wants all of it. Somebody very much wants the right piece of it, and the difference between the two is 5 minutes and a flipped plate. So now I want to hear from you, and I want the truth. Does your family actually want your china, yes or no? Tell me in the comments. And while you are down there, tell me the oldest piece in your cabinet and who it came from. Your mother, a grandmother, a wedding long ago, because the story of who owned it is half the value, and I read every single one. And subscribe, because next we go back to the same cabinet for the teapots, and the teapot may be worth more than every cup that ever sat under it.